My name is Luke Savage, and this is my presentation of learning. So for this project, we had to pick 5 books, and then we relate the skills that the characters in the book use, and you talk about like what you learned throughout this semester. The first book that I'm going to use is The Maze Runner. So this book, a boy wakes up with no memory of like his past or anything, and he's stuck inside a maze, and he doesn't know how he got there or how he's going to get out, but he keeps trying throughout the book to figure out ways to get out of the maze. And the skill that this ties into is perseverance. And this artifact that I'm using is the Fahrenheit 451 comic strip. So you're in a group of 2 or 3. For me, it was a group of 3, and you had to create a storyboard from a scene from the book. So we chose the old lady burns down her house. So this is like a picture of my 4 scenes, and you had to, I think I made 5, and you had to hand draw each frame, so that was a little challenging. And some of the challenges that I faced were I'm not a very good artist, so it would take a long time for me to draw something that I actually thought was like pretty good. And another the biggest challenge was I had to redraw my frames a lot because I would mess up. And some of the successes were I didn't get mad at myself. Instead of getting frustrated, I would laugh at my bad drawings. And I would go over it in pencil first so that if I made a mistake, I could easily erase it. The second book is the second book in the Maze Runner series, and it's about a group of boys escape the maze and are now on the run. And they found out that there's a traitor among them, but they still need to rely on each other to stay alive. And the skill that this goes into is trust, and the artifact that I'm choosing is the transportation infographic. And you're with your group of 4, and you had to create an infographic that showed the differences between the types of transportation. So this picture is like my like section of the infographic, and in the end, it all come together, and you all put yours all together and create like the final infographic. Some of the challenges were definitely communicating outside of school and like hoping that everyone else was like finishing their work on time. And this was pretty much a big challenge because everyone was busy at different times, and it was hard to find like a time where everyone can like figure out what they're doing to make sure that all your infographics have like similar style. And not everybody knew how to use iDraw. I think some of us have taken the class before, but you really had to make sure that everyone was on the same page so that like not one was like super good and some was like not so good. And we were successful in this because everybody finished their assigned part and everybody put effort into making their section look nice. And in the end, everybody came through and our final infographic looked pretty good. The third book is Death Cure. It's the 3rd book in the Maze Runner series, and it's about the group of boys work together to take down a company that wants to take over the world, and they need to. It was impossible for one person to do it by himself, so they really needed everybody to come together to help finish the mission. And the skill that this ties into is collaboration. And the artifact that I'm choosing is the K-Vibe field trip. So for this, we went to K-Vibe and we picked a bike and we worked on it to fix it so that we'd be using in our electric bikes. And there was a lot of work to be done, and everybody needed to help contribute because we only had a certain amount of time for each field trip. So that ties in with the challenges. We were inexperienced with the tools in the beginning, and I don't think everybody like has ever taken apart a bike before, maybe a couple. And you really need to like listen to the instructors to make sure you know what to do. And again, we only have a certain amount of time, so everybody really needs to do work in order to finish on time. Some of the successes were everybody had something to do the whole time, and everybody pitched in even though they weren't really experienced. And I think that no one was afraid to get their hands dirty, and everybody did their own work. We finished pretty fast, I think, like maybe by the 3rd field trip, because everybody like helped and was doing something the whole time. Another book is Brainjack, and in this book, the biggest threat for the U.S. was cyber attacks. And in this story, the main character needs to hack into the network of a plane to keep it from crashing into an FBI headquarters. So he uses anything around him, like old computers and cell phones, to hack into like the most secure networks. And this ties into my POL because resourcefulness is another one of my skills. And the artifact that I chose was circuit making. And for this project, you were given wires, conductors, batteries, and light bulbs, and you had to figure out ways to make the light bulbs light up. And a lot of this was trial and error and figuring out what worked and what didn't. Some of the challenges were the bulbs didn't light, or the wires or the bulbs were broken, or you weren't making the circuit correctly. So this was another big challenge, because in order to solve it, you had to do certain trials to figure out what was the problem and then fix the problem. And me and my partner were able to light the bulbs after a few tries, and we were able to think of ways to light the bulbs with the materials given to us. I think that we were really successful because we didn't quit. We kept trying until we liked the bulbs. And another book is The Homelanders. And in this book, a boy wakes up to find dead people all around him, and he doesn't know what happened, and he has no memory, and he goes on the run, even though he doesn't know what he did wrong. And in this book, he has to make lots of quick decisions that could result in life or death. And this ties in because critical thinking is another one of my skills. And for this project, we did the Civil War project. So this is a picture of our first draft of our silhouette. And you and a partner had to research technology from the past and present and use juxtaposition to compare the two. You also had to write a historical fiction about a person from the Civil War and create a silhouette art piece. Some of the challenges were finding information on a person from the Civil War, also thinking of a good way to represent your topic so that people would know what it is when they see your silhouette, and also finding recent news about ambulances, because there really hasn't been anything new invented in ambulances. And the success was writing our historical fiction. I think that it really went well with our silhouette. Also, creating our silhouette I think we did pretty well in that part, because when people saw it, they pretty much knew that it was showing the evolution, a timeline of the different transportations. And also, presenting our project at the gallery show was, I think, pretty successful, and we got pretty good reviews. And I'm gonna do a conclusion. So overall, I think that MPX is better for me because I'm a visual learner, and I don't learn well from studying by myself or reading a book. So I think that overall, these projects allow you to do hands-on learning and actually let you the gallery show really helped the information stay with me and taught me a lot of life skills. Thank you.
9 minutes left.
That was 8 minutes.
Good.
Questions?
Do you recommend these books that you read to other people?
Yeah. The Maze Runner is definitely one of my favorites now. I think I read the first book and then I really wanted to read the second and third, so I would recommend that book. Okay.
What skill are you most proud of overcoming?
I think the critical thinking one, because I'm just pretty happy with the outcome of our silhouette. Because in the beginning, I didn't really know what to do, or didn't even have an idea of what we were gonna do for our evolution of ambulances. But I think after seeing the finished product, I was pretty happy with it. Jordan.
How did you grow as a learner from last year to this year?
Definitely, I guess, paying attention. I mean, I'm still not that good, but last year was a lot of just iPad games and stuff, and now this year I feel I can actually focus in class for a while, and then I still need to work on paying attention.
I've got one for you. It's interesting. The presentations I've seen so far today, folks talk a lot about kind of high-level skills like perseverance and collaboration. So I want to ask you about one of those, because if we're trying to help you build these, someone might ask you, well, one of the ones you mentioned today was trust. So if someone were to say to you, how could I design a classroom experience in which my students develop trust? You gave us some examples of challenges and successes around that skill. Okay, how would you answer that? Let's say that one of your teachers said, Luke, how are you building trust? How can I help you guys build trust in my classroom? What have you learned about building trust?
I think the best way is doing group projects because you can't just rely on yourself to do the work. You actually have to make sure that your partner does the equal amount of work so that you both get a good grade in the end. Especially like when you get like one grade for the whole project for both of you. You really have to make sure that you both are doing quality work. So I thought that was group projects were helping build trust.
Is there any particular feature of group projects that help that happen? Because you hear sometimes people say, and I heard someone say earlier about, I was worried, I think it was Regina mentioned, right? I might have to do it all myself and I had to really give that up and hope that my partner would do their work.
Mm-hmm.
Are there things that you have learned or you think teachers should learn about putting in place to help that happen better?
I found that like communication, like when you talk about what you're doing, and then even if you're outside class and you keep communicating and you like both make sure you're both doing work, it makes it easier to trust like your partner if you know that they're actually doing work instead of just like you don't talk to them at all and then you just kind of hope like the next class they did their work.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, can you pause the film, please? Thank you, Luke. I appreciate that.